All right, you asked for it. I'm delivering. You asked for a small batch peach cobbler, and it's the beginning of peach season here in Utah, so what better thing to make? It's the perfect summer dessert. You can eat it warm out of the oven with some ice cream or cold out of the refrigerator for breakfast. It's a multi-purpose dessert. So join me in the kitchen as we make small batch recipes with big taste. All right, so how do you know if your peach is ready to use? Now we want a ripe peach, but not an overly ripe peach. You want the peach just to be slightly and to have some give to it when you squeeze it, but you don't want it overly ripe because we are going to be baking these peaches, which softens them up. And if they are too ripe, you're going to end up with mush. So you want just a slight, nice, soft give in them. The first thing we need to do is peel our peaches. And I have found that the easiest way to do this is to bring some water to a boil in a saucepan. Put your peach in the water for maybe a minute, take it out, put it into a bowl of cold ice water, and that skin is going to peel right off. Now, for today's peach cobbler, we are using 3 medium-sized peaches. You could use 4 small peaches. You want about 2 cups, maybe a little more, of peaches. You believe how easy that is to peel your peaches? So the next step is we're going to slice our peach. And you just want to take your peach and you want to slice it in half. And then just pull. Then we're going to remove the pit, of course. Some pits come out easier than others. All right, we kind of mangled this one a little bit. And then we want to slice our peaches, and we're going to slice them into about 1/2-inch size slices. You want them as evenly as possible, so of course that they cook as evenly as possible. Don't cut them too thin though, because then you're going to end up with mushy peaches. All right, next we are going to cook our peaches a little bit because we need them nice and warm and hot when we put them in our dish. I'm going to use these low ramekins. You need it to fit about a cup's worth of peaches, so you can use whatever container you have. You can do it in one container. That little 3x5 baking dish I have linked down below would work great too. But if the peaches aren't warm or hot when you put them in here and then we put the amazing crumble topping on top of it, the crumble topping is not going to cook from the bottom, okay, enough in that time. And you'll end up with gummy, gooey, undercooked crumble. So this step is unnecessary. And so we're going to just put our peaches into a frying pan. And then we're going to put some sugar on. Now, you know, depending if you've got like super, super sweet peaches, you don't need to put as much sugar. But I'm using about a tablespoon of brown sugar and a tablespoon of granulated sugar. And then I'm just going to toss those peaches to get them nice and coated. All right, we're going to take them over to our stove. All right, I'm also going to add just a pinch of salt to them and about a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Now, if you're not a cinnamon person, you can totally leave the cinnamon off. And then just again, go ahead and toss them again. And what we want to do is heat these peaches through and have that sugar slightly caramelize on the peaches. All right, now you do want to use some sugar in your peaches even if they're super sweet because that sugar is what's going to caramelize on those peaches and make them so delicious. So I'm going to take my little ramekin. I am going to spray them, just lightly spray them, so whatever container you're using. And then we just want to go ahead and divide those peaches in half into our baking dish. Now try to get it as evenly as possible. And then if there's any like little sugary juices in the pan, be sure and add those in too. All right, now we are ready to make the crumble topping that goes on top of the peaches. All right, now you may be wondering, what is the difference between a crumble and a cobbler? And to be perfectly honest with you, I may have referred to this as both in this video. I don't know, a crumble, a cobbler. But for me anyway, we're gonna call this a cobbler, even though I may have called it a crumble. But for me, it is a difference in the flavor and in the texture. Now, a crisp is usually the topping uses oats in it, so you get a little crunchier texture to it. Now, a cobbler, sometimes it has a real biscuity topping on it, which I don't really care for, so we're using more of a crumble on our cobbler. So it's kind of the perfect mix of a crisp and a cobbler. Okay, we're going to use a little flour, some butter, some sugar, a little baking powder, and it is going to be delicious. It's going to have kind of the consistency of a slightly underbaked sugar cookie. All right, but if you are looking for a crisp recipe, make sure you check out my berry crisp and my apple crisp recipes here on YouTube. All right, we're going to make this crumble cobbler topping, whatever you want to call it. We are going to start with 1/3 cup of flour. Now, how do I like to measure my flour? I like to fluff, scoop, and then scrape. I'm going to do that again. Fluff, scoop, scrape. All right, there we go. We're also going to add in a tablespoon of granulated sugar and a tablespoon of brown sugar. Now, if all you had was brown sugar, go ahead and use all brown sugar. It's just going to give it a little deeper, richer flavor, or you could use all granulated sugar. We're going to add in 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder and a pinch of salt, and then 2 tablespoons of melted butter. All right, now let's mix this up, and it's going to form like a sugar cookie dough. And then we're just ready to put our topping on top of our peaches. I like to put when I make my small batch pies, you can check all those small batch pie recipes out up there, our crisp or cobblers. I like to put my dishes on a small baking sheet because it makes it easier to get them in and out of the oven. So I kind of took my hands and kind of actually brought the dough together just a little bit so there's some clumps. And then we're just going to lay those clumps on top of our peaches, of course trying to get it as evenly as possible between the two. This is my favorite part, is usually the crisp, the topping, the crumble, whatever you put on top. So good. And then we're going to pop them into a 350-degree oven for about 15 minutes, or until that cobbler crumble topping is nice and golden brown and your peaches are nice and hot and bubbly. Now, if you find that your topping is browning faster than your peaches are getting hot and bubbly, just go ahead and cover it with some foil. All right, they are done. They're out of the oven. They are nice and hot. So what we're going to do is let these sit for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, or as long as you can wait, to let those juices thicken up a little bit. And then we're going to grab some ice cream. All right, I'm going to add ice cream to mine because I'm eating it as dessert. But you know, hey, no judgment if you want to put ice cream on it and serve it for breakfast. But this peach cobbler is perfection. A light, crunchy, sugar cookie-like topping on some yummy, juicy peaches. The perfect summer dessert. Be sure to check out all my other dessert videos down there. And I'll see you in the next video.